every episode of iCarly in 10 words or less. I said I was going to do this, and I'm one who keeps my promises. Let's go. The following video is of the review style created by the fellow YouTuber Jello Apocalypse. If you like the style of reviewing things, feel free to check out his channel, which I should hopefully have linked in the description. I start over. Great return for a great series. I hate Carly. The characters are written like real people. iFauxapologize. Let's mock the internet. And do it well. I got your back. Spencer, how did you mess up this bad? Robot Wedding. You will rue the day that you wasted Neville Papperman's spot. I'm cursed. Carly, I promise no one will die this year. I promise. I need space. You could just work in your own room. I love Gwen. It felt rushed. Some new dynamics didn't get the chance to shine. MLM. Why did Millicent not notice the MLM / potential drug trafficking? I take a girls trip. It has its moments, it's just not my cup of tea. I can fix it myself. Now I really want Jeanette to return even more. I throw a flawless dinner party. This episode feels like setup, yet it stands alone. I return to webcom. Just like last time, we're stranded. That was every episode of the iCarly revival reviewed in 10 words or less. So, my opinion's probably different from yours. But let's now get into the top 3 best and top 3 worst. I Can Fix It Myself is a great episode which has a lot of building up for the next 2 episodes, as well as some really emotional scenes of why Carly doesn't want to get rid of her vehicle due to her relationship with Sam, which makes me want to see Jeanette return even more. This is a fantastic episode. And I really like it. It's just, it leaves a hole because Jeanette doesn't want to return to play Sam because she hates acting. And I do not want anyone to force her into it, but it just does leave a hole in the show. And I think that they did their best addressing this. They're still leaving room for her to return if she does change her mind. And it's overall a great episode, and genuinely, I love how it was built up, and it feels at home with some of the older episodes. Just take Sam out. So, that should tell you did a good job. Number 3 worst. I Love Gwen. It's a good episode. It's just due to the fact that the show is still restricted to a 24-minute time frame for an episode. It ended up feeling rushed and just didn't have the time to make some of these dynamics shine. I would have loved to see the dynamics between a lot of characters that got one in this episode, but only got a couple conversations because they don't have time to explore everyone. We barely know the dynamic between Millicent and her mother and Freddie and his ex. I genuinely think Carly got an equal amount of screen time with her, which is ridiculous. This episode should be about Freddie and Millicent, but it isn't. Or, it tried to be. I think they could have either pushed Carly off to more of a supporting role for this episode, or increased the length of the episode. But without it, it just feels like it's missing the point of the episode. It's barely there. And that is frustrating. For obvious reasons. Number 2 best. I'm Cursed. This is a phenomenal episode filled with tons of gags and callbacks, like party performers dying of aneurysms. Why does this keep happening in this world? No, seriously, I think this is the third time a party performer in iCarly or iCarly's revival have died of an aneurysm. It's ridiculous. It's funny. Death is not funny, but how it's handled is in this episode. You can make a lot of things funny if you play them for laughs. So, that's my thoughts, and genuinely, all the references in this episode, it makes me want to know what the goat did even more. No one knows. The writers don't even know what the goat did. We can only guess. But it is hilarious. It is great. I don't know what to say. Because, again, it's an amazing show. And this episode really shows that it's willing to do more with what it can without pushing it to a level where it feels ostracized from the original. Because, again, someone dies on screen. But it's played in a way that still keeps it close to the heart of the original. Well, you know, still being able to get away with a little more. Number 2 worst, I Got Your Back. This episode isn't exactly bad, as it is empty. Spencer's B-plot's fine, but the A-plot, I can't think of a single memorable moment from. It genuinely just feels empty. It is basically just, like, the one thing it has going for is the finalized version of Carly's dress, but it feels so empty. It just doesn't have a soul. There just isn't much to it. It's fine, it's just, it doesn't have anything special to it. It feels more like a run-of-the-mill episode you'd see in a different show. Which isn't exactly bad, but it doesn't belong. It's not up to the quality I'd like to see in the show, considering how amazing and consistently great the original was. And considering this was right after one of my favorite episodes of the show entirely for this revival, it just feels wrong. Number 1 best, iFauxapologize. Yeah, apparently that word's faux. I didn't know either. Definitely rolls off the tongue better than iFauxapologize. As in a fax machine, YouTube. But this is the episode that sold me on this revival. The first 2 were good episodes. And some of my favorites of this series. Of this revival. But this is what sold me. This single episode is what... And it's amazing how well it's done. Like, how often can someone make fun of the internet who isn't part of the internet? Let's remember, this is a TV show. And do it well. A lot of internet creators can't even do that well. Because, let's be honest, you get sick of Raid Shadow Legends jokes. Like, seriously, no one likes that game. Stop sponsoring people. You get sick of those. I'm honestly surprised they didn't make annoying sponsorships, but It is so good. It is exactly what I want. And I think that's why the episode's so great. I have a video talking about it, actually. I decided to review the first 3 episodes standalone when they came out. That should be in the end screen. So, it's a lot more of me talking about this episode. I was gonna probably do every episode, like every other episode, or every 3 episodes. I changed my mind, because then I'd flood the channel with iCarly. So I just figure I'll just do this. But this episode's great. Again, I have a full video talking about it. Well, 1/3 of it talking about it. It's a lot better than this, where it's 1/13. Number 1 worst. I take a girls' trip. This one probably surprised a lot of people, because this episode is fairly well liked. I hate it. It is genuinely, like, one of the worst episodes of the show. It has 1 or 2 moments I like. And the fact is, the episode went too far. Like, I understand you guys have a higher rating, but this is excessive. Like, seriously, it pushed the boundaries. Way, way too far. Like, genuinely, I wouldn't be surprised if this episode alone caused the show to get a higher age rating. Which it didn't! This episode should not have a TV PG rating. It should have higher. I don't know. It's probably just my complaining. But yeah. This episode, I really did not like it. At all. And the moments I would want to talk about, I'd prefer not to, and I'd also prefer not to get demonetized. That was every episode of iCarly 2021 reviewed in 10 words or less, or at least season 1. I feel like we're gonna get a second season, but I don't know. What was your favorite episode? What was your least favorite episode? What were your thoughts on this revival? Personally, I think its great episodes stood up to some of the originals, but it was missing the core of what made iCarly special. Which, in all fairness, it's hard to emulate that now in 2021 compared to 9 years ago. But, you know. Because when the show started, YouTube was barely a thing. If at all. But the original was able to, no matter what the episode was, use iCarly, the web show. This one, it's used in like maybe 3 or 4 episodes. Like, no matter what they were talking about in the original, it usually started or ended with an iCarly broadcast, which would give you a good joke or a feel for the episode. That is something that I felt was missing. As well as the very obvious missing of 2 important and fan-favorite characters. Which is sad. I would preferred them to be in the show. I understand why. Like, seriously, I 100% understand why. Especially with anyone who's looked at all into why the creator of the original show, as well as a ton of other Nickelodeon sitcoms, was fired. Like, I can understand why a lot of people wouldn't want to return to the show. But it sucks. Because, you know, when you're missing your core, it's gonna be sucky. But I think they did the best job they could. So, I'll give him credit for that.